From pushing out Wi-Fi credentials to enforcing passcode policies, profiles help manage the settings and functionality of devices in Jamf School. Using profiles, admins can ensure that the devices in their environment have the settings and configurations they need to keep them productive and secure. My name is Corey. Let's learn more about profiles in Jamf School. From the Jamf School dashboard, navigate to Profiles, Overview. Here we have a list of all existing profiles available in our instance, including any we created during Setup Assistant. In the list, we're shown some high-level information about our profiles, including the profile's name, any description we may have given it, what platform it's for, and how many devices it's scoped to. On the far right, we can edit, download, copy, or delete a profile. Let's start by creating a new passcode profile for our macOS devices. Click Create Profile in the top right. First, we need to choose a platform, or operating system, that we want to create a profile for. We have the option for iOS, macOS, tvOS, or uploading a custom profile. For this example, let's select macOS. Next, we need to select an enrollment type. Device enrollment will apply this profile to devices owned by our school, while user enrollment will apply to personally owned devices, such as those in a BYOD or Bring Your Own Device program. For this example, let's use device enrollment, but if you have questions about user enrollment, be sure to check out the links in the resources. Next, we can give our profile a name and a description. I'm naming mine macOS-passcode. Adding a description is optional, but it can be useful to leave notes for yourself or other teammates. When ready, click Next. Our final option is to enable a time filter for this profile. This can be useful when we only want a profile to be active during a certain day or time period. So if we only wanted a profile to be active during school hours, we could use a time filter to lift the profile settings when the students go home. When we select the Use Time Filter checkbox, we're given options to enable whether or not the filter is active during configured holidays, set timeframes for when it should be active, and determine which days of the week to enforce the profile. Because we want this device to be secured with the passcode at all times, I'm deselecting Use Time Filter to be sure our devices always have the profile. Click Finish to continue. Now that we have a profile created, we need to add a payload to it. Payloads contain the various settings and functionality that a profile can manage. Along the left side, we have a list of payloads organized into categories. The General category shows payloads that are required for all profiles. This includes the General payload, which contains the information we just entered when creating the profile. Next, we have the General Payload category, which contains payloads that are typically available for any platform. Below that, we have the macOS Payload category. This category contains all payloads specific to our chosen platform, which in this case is macOS. If we had chosen a different platform, such as iOS, this section would contain payloads specific to iOS instead. For the best experience, it's recommended that each profile we make contains only one payload. This helps ensure that changes made to one payload don't inadvertently affect another. If we were to put Wi-Fi and passcode settings in the same profile and later come back and change those passcode settings, we may accidentally break the Wi-Fi settings on our devices. Let's scroll up and click Passcode, Configure to create our passcode requirements. For this example, I'm only selecting Require Alphanumeric Value and setting the minimum passcode length to 8. However, for your configurations, we encourage you to review all of the options within a payload and select the settings that are best for your environment. With those settings configured, click Save. Now, the last thing to do is determine the scope of this profile. Determining scope simply means deciding which devices should receive this profile. Click Scope. From here, we can add multiple device groups to the scope of this profile. When a device group is added, all of the devices in that group will receive the profile. Let's click the plus to add our first group. From here, we can click the Search for a Device Group pop-up menu to select an existing group. If you have questions about creating device groups, be sure to check out the links in the resources. Before deploying this profile to all devices, I want to test it out first to make sure it's working properly. So, for this example, I'm selecting the Test Computers group. From here, we could select another group, but this is the only group I want to use for now. With the group selected, we're shown a list of devices that are in scope to receive the profile. To finalize scoping the profile to our devices, click Save, and that's it. Remember, the devices in scope will start receiving the profile when they are online and check in with Jamf School, so they may not get the profile immediately. We've successfully created our macOS passcode profile to enforce our organizational requirements to help keep our devices secure. There are many more payloads available in profiles, so let's explore a few more. While creating a passcode payload is a great way to help keep our devices protected, we may want to configure a few more settings to keep our devices secure. The restrictions payload allows admins to restrict device functionality and is available for both macOS and iOS. A restriction may include disabling certain preferences in system settings or preventing users from taking screenshots and making recordings. There are many different options within the restrictions payload, and some require certain operating systems, so we encourage you to review them and their requirements and enable those that work best for your environment. Another common payload to use is networks, which allows us to deploy Wi-Fi credentials to our devices and remove the need to share network passwords with our users. There are also some helpful payloads to explore that are specific to mobile devices. In an iOS profile, let's scroll down until we find the iOS Payload Supervised Only category. For these payloads to work, a device must be supervised, which is a setting that can be enabled through automated device enrollment or applied manually with Apple Configurator. Because supervision provides increased access and control of a device, it's not something typically available for personally owned devices enrolled in Jamf School. The lock screen message payload allows admins to create custom messages that appear on a device's screen when it's locked. Payload variables can be used to dynamically add information, such as the user's name or the device's serial number, to a device's lock screen in the Asset Tag field. For a list of payload variables, check out the links in the resources. The Safe List and Block List payload allows admins to configure a list of apps and categories that may be allowed or blocked on a device. For example, we could choose to restrict access to all social media apps. Or we can click Add Application and search the App Store for specific applications to block in case we don't want to block all of them. Before we click Save, be sure to note that by default, Blocklist All Web Clips is selected, so if you want to allow web clips, be sure to deselect this checkbox. Admins most commonly use this payload in combination with the time filters that we previously reviewed, preventing their users from accessing certain apps during school hours, but allowing access to those apps outside of school. Whether you're looking to enforce organization security standards or create a consistent experience for all of your users, profiles offer a great way to customize and manage the functionality of a device. We reviewed only a handful of the payloads that are available in Jamf School, so be sure to explore the payloads yourself and review the documentation so you can find what configurations work best for your environment. Thanks for watching.